Sophie shivered as she stood on the empty platform, the cold night air biting through her thin jacket. The station was eerily silent except for the occasional distant rumble of a passing freight train. She glanced at her watch, anxiety bubbling up inside her as the minutes ticked by. The last train home was running late, and with each passing second, the shadows seemed to grow longer and the silence more oppressive. She had missed the earlier train after working late at the office, caught up in a mountain of paperwork. Now, she found herself alone, the solitary figure on the deserted platform. The station lights flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced around her like sinister specters. Sophie heard a faint rustling sound behind her. She spun around, her heart racing, but saw nothing out of the ordinary. Just the wind, she told herself, but the chill down her spine suggested otherwise. Clutching her bag tighter, she took a step back, edging closer to the safety of the platform's center. Moments later, the distant sound of an approaching train broke the silence. Sophie let out a sigh of relief, her muscles relaxing ever so slightly. The headlights of the train pierced the darkness. As it slowed to a stop, she stepped forward eagerly. The door slid open with a hiss, and she stepped onto the nearly empty carriage, finding a seat near the back. As the train pulled away from the station, Sophie noticed a man sitting a few rows ahead of her. He looked ordinary enough, yet something about him seemed off. His eyes were fixed on her intently. She couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. She tried to ignore him, focusing instead on the rhythmic clatter of the train against the tracks. The man's gaze, however, felt like a tangible weight. After a few stops, Sophie realized the man hadn't moved. Each time she glanced back, he was still there, staring. Her unease grew, and she decided that it was best to get off at the next station, even if it meant a longer walk home. As the train pulled into the next stop, Sophie stood up and hurried to the exit. The moment the doors opened, she dashed out onto the platform, heart pounding. Outside, the cool night air filled her lungs, and she felt a wave of relief wash over her. The train departed, leaving the station as empty as the last. Sophie quickened her pace, eager to put some distance between herself and the station. It wasn't until she reached her front door, safely home at last, that she allowed herself to breathe easy again. Little did she know, in the shadow of the last train, a pair of eyes still watched her from afar.